Welcome back. My name is Monica Giersdahl. I am your facilitator for this training program in basic hypnosis. This is Chapter 102, Chapter 2, the background of hypnosis. It is a pre-assignment for a 3-day pre-conference training program at the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association's annual conference, the Hypno Expo, this May 2016 in Daytona Beach. Where does hypnosis come from? Other than the language itself, the word hypnosis, where does it come from? It's as old as mankind. From the ancient shamans to present-day faith healers, marketing wizards, politicians, coaches, parents, we all use suggestion. The ability to respond to suggestion is what makes us so powerfully human in community, through support and protection or rejection and ostracism. Every culture uses some form of mass hypnosis or trance state to facilitate community building, establishing of norms, and healing or rehabilitation. In a primitive society, a medicine man or a shaman might go to a quiet place, a place of no distractions. The goal is to be focused strongly. In that isolated place, that forest or that cave or that stream or the mountaintops, some practitioners use drums, chanting, singing, dancing, running, some of these things are provided by a shaman's companion, some are provided by him or herself. The rhythmic and monotonous sounds are useful tools for inducing and sustaining trance states. In addition, there are ideas in the shamanic traditions of soul loss, soul fragmentation, and the ability to retrieve the soul or lost parts of soul. In the more primitive shamanic traditions, the shaman enters trance and goes to retrieve those parts, those lost parts for the person seeking healing. Sometimes there appears to be a battle for the soul, or the spirit, perhaps the self itself, splintered and burdened by parts and ideas that are not beneficial to itself, thoughts, ideals, and behaviors of other people. Spiritual assistance is sometimes called from other dimensions to assist in the healing process. So these are primitive processes. They involve imagination, visualization, imagery, and often direct suggestions during which the healer wills the sick person to be healed. The intent of the healer is assumed to be of great value in hypnosis. Unlike in scientific experiments, wherein all efforts are made to avoid experimenter effect. And yet, even as an experimenter, a scientist, I know that just by the way I frame my attention or my question, I'm exerting an influence between my conscious and my unconscious minds. By my questions, by the things I ask, I focus my intent upon that which I determine is relevant, which means I may miss some things that are in the periphery that are more important than what I think I'm focusing on right here. Clarity of intent is productive for effective hypnotic experiences. So, as a hypnotist, I want you to learn to lock your mind around the idea that the suggestion you're delivering is fully accepted by the person who's asked for those suggestions, including when you give them to yourself. So history shows suggestion is known and deliberately used in Rome, ancient Rome, Greece, ancient Greece, India, Egypt, all the apparently primitive cultures, and even in modern medical practice. In Egypt, the Egyptian priests and priestesses of the sleep temples, Asclepios, used suggestion to achieve spontaneous, miraculous cures. Modern hypnotists use very similar processes. In the Asclepian dream traditions, the sleep temples, the person arrives with an expectancy. I have a healing that can happen. The gods will touch me and I will be healed. Some divine transformation is unfolding and occurring within me. I'm waiting for the calling. So the process of hypnosis, these natural processes, are things that all humans do and experience as they heal, grow, adapt, learn, and change. These processes transcend cultural, religious, and scientific norms. With the rise of Christianity, for some branches of religious practice, hypnosis was cast in the light of being something evil. Information about the true and natural processes of hypnosis were held secret by the ruling caste, the classes that sought to have religious and political power. The uneducated public was led to believe that someone hypnotized was under the control of the hypnotist and that the hypnotist was in league with the devil. Unless those using suggestion to influence the minds of others were affiliated with an established religious or political power structure. Then it was the one way, the only way, the true way. So all good lies have a seed of truth. The darkest taint of hypnosis in the modern fundamental Christian perspective is that it creates vulnerability to possession. The use of hypnosis does not open a door to the devil's getting in, as I have been accused by my God-fearing friends and colleagues. But it does have a potential for increasing one's awareness of the existing spiritual dimensions. So it's unlikely that hypnosis would be a cause in an issue of spiritual haunting, demonization, or possession. It is a tool for expanding awareness of the five senses. And what if these five senses we know of scientifically are only a small part of what we can scientifically attribute to the human body for perceiving and measuring the world at this moment? Science is constantly expanding how we can perceive the world around us and the world within us. Greater awareness of self can create a capacity to recognize and dislodge thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are not recognized as one's own. Maybe you had a moment where you heard your mother's voice in your head scolding you. Or maybe your mother's voice praising you. That's my boy. That's my girl. You see, we all have memories that come from people that may or may not be alive and with us today. Some of these things need to be integrated fully, and some of them need to be stored in the warehouse of learning of what works, what doesn't work, what we want or need that we haven't gotten yet, so we can move forward with greater joy. It's normal, it's an empathic capacity for being human to reflect back to others what we observe about them. From the Freudian perspective, it is also a normal defense mechanism to project onto others those things we fear or dislike about ourselves. So the fear-based injunction to avoid hypnosis appears to be an attempt to keep humans ignorant of the natural process for powerful growth and development. Hypnosis can help humans discover more about their potential for growth and development, including the spiritual realms and the innately personal nature of communing with the divine. The rise of modern science casts a shadow on the phenomena we call hypnosis and seek to distance the hypnotic experience from its spiritual roots. Hypnosis entered the modern world, the medical world, in 1772 when the French physician Anton Mesmer introduced his theory of animal magnetism. He started out his studies as a priest, transferred his studies to law, and finally to medicine. At some point, he observed a priest stroking the bodies of subjects in need of healing. The subjects would apparently fall into a trance and waken free from their presenting problem. Some of the research I have looked at refers to this priest as Father Gasner, Gasner, I don't recall Gasner. Some refer to it as Father Hell. Either way, Anton Mesmer had his introduction to hypnosis by observing what he referred to as hand passes using natural animal magnetism. He theorized there was some form of fluid or energy passing from the hands of the priest through the body that created the healing. He thought of it as magnetism and thought it could be influenced by magnets. When he asked the French Royal Academy to take a look at his work, he was snubbed. Mesmer had phenomenal results. As his successes grew, he had to develop ways to handle larger volumes of people. And he developed his ideas of a large oak tub filled with iron filings and iron rods protruding from them. He then indicated that he could give similar healing by magnetizing a tree in his yard. Well, you know, the King of France was impressed with successes and authorized an award, which Mesmer in his arrogance returned, saying he deserved more money. Well, the Academy of Science, the Royal Academy of Science, those Frenchmen didn't like that. Ben Franklin went with them to observe Anton Mesmer, who refused them audience. All Ben Franklin got to see, according to what I've read, was people touching the tree in Mesmer's yard, and they were getting well. He was the one who said, if they are getting well, it appears to be by their own imaginings, which was the basis of psychosomatic medicine 100 years later. The Royal Academy took that to mean that Mesmer was a fraud, and he was thereby debunked. Mesmerism fell into disrepute. But his work lived on because his successes were not to be ignored. Marquis de Poussigier, I don't even know if I'm saying that name right, one of Mesmer's disciples, decided that what Mesmer was talking about was not magnetic but electric. He was convinced that it emanated from all living beings, plants, and animals. This is a part of this basic hypnosis training that's not generally included in basic. Generally, the energy fields and how to work with the energy fields is held for one of the more advanced classes. I wish to integrate it fully in this basic class so that you as a hypnotist are aware on an energetic level of what you're doing with yourself in your energy field with relaxing and in the fields of energy of other people in helping them to relax more fully. Those will be separate extra credit portions of this training. They're not required to complete the class, but if you want to accumulate more hours, you can do so. And then in the 1840s, we have a British surgeon, John Elliotson. He performed surgeries using nothing but animal magnetism. He was condemned by his colleagues and had to resign as head of the University of London Hospital. He refused to give up animal magnetism. Chemical anesthesia had not yet been developed. Another physician from Britain, Dr. Esdale, observed a demonstration of animal magnetism while on vacation in England. He returned to India and performed over 3,000 operations in a prison hospital using nothing but animal magnetism. The British Medical Association forced him to close his hospital and return to England to face charges of charlatanism when he reported his successes. He was accused of being sacrilegious because God meant for man to feel pain. And then the Queen of England used chloroform to ease her labor pain. And the religious theory of people being meant to feel pain was tossed aside for the scientific application of chemical anesthesias and pain management devices. So in the 1840s, the word hypnosis was coined by James Braid, who stumbled upon the state while treating a patient with an eye disorder, and another man requiring immediate attention arrived. Braid told his first patient, "I'll be back. Look into this light, I'll be back. I'll have you look into the light before administering eye drops." While Braid was tending to the emergency patient, the first patient decided to get ready for the treatment by staring into the light. Notice here, the subject had anticipation of his treatment. He was eager for it. He was roused. He was interested. He was curious. The anticipation was evident in a self-initiated building of focus and a desire for a successful experience. When Braid returned to the room, he recognized the state, so he must have been a closet mesmerist. According to Dave Altman in his 1964 book, Hypnotherapy, since Braid recognized the state, he must have been playing with it and decided to explore further. So he suggested that his patient close his eyes and he would discover they just wouldn't work. The man closed his eyes and they just didn't work. They did not open. And then he told the patient to change his mind and the eyes would work just fine, which they did. Braid decided the state was a nervous sleep. Based on the way the subject looked to the hypnotist or onlookers, and the state of being occurred when the subject was expected to enter trance. That's number one. Number two, the mesmerist passed hands over the subject's body, thereby transmitting the magnetic fluid. 3, and suggestion was given using the eye fixation. Braid distanced his newly discovered phenomena from animal magnetism. In a time-honored manner, he changed the name and avoided being labeled a charlatan. Then he could start having great results like Mesmer had. So the form of the phenomena did not change, just the name. The spiritual assumptions of divine intervention, along with hand passes and energy exchange, was rejected as insufficiently objective to be subsumed by the material domain of modern science. The subtle energy aspects of hypnosis are what science considers secondary perceptual qualities, meaning they're related to sensory perceptions and impressions that an individual finds personally meaningful. Primary perceptual qualities involve the perceptions of things which can be objectively measured. Braid selected a word to describe what the state of being looked like objectively: sleep. He named it Hypnosis in honor of Hypnos, the Greek god of sleep. He was published in many languages before he realized it was not sleep at all. He tried to rename it monoideism, but hypnosis is catchy. It is the common term, and it is found in many forms of language skills, communication, education, and relating. Braid's labeling of this state infers the most common misconception about hypnotism today, that the hypnotized person won't be able to move, speak, hear, or respond because it'll be like he's asleep, unaware. In the late 1870s, 30 years later, Dr. Jean Martin, he's French. Dr. Charcot, a neurologist and head of the school of Salpêtrière. Oh, my French is terrible. A school in France described the 3 states of hypnosis: lethargy, physical relaxation; catalepsy, limbs remaining in any position they are placed; and somnambulism, the ability to walk, talk, and be anesthetized. Charcot theorized that only hysterics were hypnotizable, and he referred to hypnosis as a state of hysteria and abnormal neurology. Young Sigmund Freud was drawn to study Charcot's methods and theory. In the 1880s, 2 French physicians, Bernheim and Libault, established a practice adopting Braid's ideas of induction via suggestion. They were the first modern physicians to accurately identify hypnosis as a natural state. Their work was so successful that people came from around the world to study, including Sigmund Freud. Freud was interested in the use of hypnosis to unlock repressed memories and apparently was not a very good student of hypnosis. His mistaken belief was that deep trance was needed for hypnotic success. And here's where we run into the debate between quality response and depth of response. Do we need to have depth in order to get response? I want depth if I'm doing surgery. Do I need to have it for waking suggestion? I do not. I may have a person walk in the door in intense emotion and they're already in trance. We bypass the logic. Or it's the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. The repetition where a person goes into trance because they know the rest of that song. And those things allow a person to go into trance and to deliver a message without having great depth, because repetition has already laid a foundation upon itself, making each previous foundational suggestion stronger. Each suggestion accepted with another one on top of it compounds and pyramids of suggestions so that each bottom suggestion becomes stronger. Freud was only able to obtain deep trance with a small percentage of his clients. This is something that modern hypnotists will also speak about, how it's difficult to get deep trance with everyone. Of course, we don't have any process that works with everyone thoroughly. And I think with practice, most everybody who wants it can find a very deep, natural state of relaxation that we call the deep states of hypnosis. Now, Joseph Brewer, I wonder if he's French, Viennese, or German. Joseph Brewer, was the leading medical hypnotist of the day. Brewer discovered that symptoms were reduced or disappeared after the subject was able to describe their experience. He developed the concept of using catharsis as a tool for healing with hypnosis to accelerate the process. Discussions between Brewer and Freud let Freud put aside hypnosis and develop his theories of psychoanalysis. He then took a position that humans have both conscious and unconscious processes. He used an iceberg or island model and talked about the azure portion above the water representing the conscious mind and the submerged portion representing the unconscious minds. Carl Jung added a collective unconscious to Freud's concepts of depth psychology and the structure of personality. Emile Coué was a French lay psychotherapist who founded his therapeutic model on repetition, self-induced suggestions. Day by day, in every way, I am getting better and better and better. Every day and every way, I am feeling more and more relaxed. Every day and every way, I am feeling more and more open to the suggestions of these great hypnosis classes as I learn more and more fully how to use the powers of my conscious and my unconscious minds to achieve that divine gift indwelling. Trust yourself. You're smart. And then we have Phineas Quimby, a European mesmerist who was touring the United States And as the hypnotists tell it, Mary, Morris, Ney, Baker, Edie, I should look up how that's said as well, studied with him and went on to found the Christian Science Church. She never used the word hypnosis or mentioned it as part of the foundation for her teachings. She has something called the science of the mind. Her teachings incorporated many of the awarenesses of positive and negative belief of mind. And in 1901, a man named Edgar Casey discovered he could diagnose illness and treat while in trance. Excuse me. He could diagnose illness and prescribe treatments while he was in trance. He was known as a sleeping prophet, and the Edgar Casey Institute is still in Virginia Beach today. After World War I, there was a renewed interest in hypnosis as a shortcut for battle fatigue, which is now known as post-traumatic stress. Mostly, hypnosis went into decline in the early 20th century, but entertainers and psychologists kept it alive. In 1908, a young man named Dave Ellman became interested in hypnosis. His son, Larry Ellman, is still teaching his methods, and we will be using his methods for the second class or the third class in this series. Ellman defined 3 things necessary for hypnosis. This is in his Introduction to Hypnotherapy. 1, the subject needs to be willing. 2, there has to be a communication between the hypnotist and the subject. 3, the subject has to be free from fear of or reluctance to trust the hypnotist. Ellman proved there's no one way to hypnotize people. Once you learn the elements of suggestion, there is limitless techniques available. It can relieve chronic pain and can be induced instantly. There are only a couple hundred people in the United States using hypnosis in 1945. By 1955, the British Medical Association reported that hypnosis was a valuable tool in medical treatment. In 1958, hypnosis was given approval as a medical modality by the American Medical Association, and in 1975, the title hypnotherapist was listed in the Dictionary of Occupational Titles published by the U.S. Department of Labor. Today, there are thousands of trained hypnotists worldwide. There are still people who want to limit the free and open practice of hypnosis. My style of teaching is open and inclusive. I want as many people as is possible to know the powers of the conscious and the unconscious mind and how to harness them more fully, and thus lead a more full, wealthy life in all aspects: work, play, love, worship, and all the things that a person could possibly want and have in balance with themselves and the world around them. So hypnosis is useful for behavior modification. It is a natural state, and optimum learning can occur during this natural state. It's useful for creative enhancement, weight and pain control, sports improvement, accelerated healing, painless dentistry. Oh, it's wonderful. Natural childbirth, improved study habits and test taking, stress reduction, goal setting and achievement, and overcoming mental or emotional blockages. So how do you learn how to do it? There was, at the time I wrote this manual in 1994 and then entered into an academic process to provide full education from the certified level of hypnosis all the way up to the doctoral applications of it. There were no national or state minimum standards of education required for the use of the titles hypnotist, hypnotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, advanced clinical hypnotherapist, hypnotechnician, or relaxologist. But there is legislation that has come into place since 1994, and every state has different law. In the state of Florida, there is a 2-track process for hypnosis. For example, I have a license in mental health. I have a doctorate in counseling psychology from an accredited school. I am authorized to use hypnosis with my license because I took a certain amount of hours, I think it was 30, of training after I finished my formal academic training. Then there's the certification track, which requires the prescription, supervision, direction, and personal responsibility, professional responsibility of a licensed member of the healing arts for the applications of hypnosis by a certified hypnotherapist who seeks to do therapeutic applications. And then there are the other things like sports enhancement that all coaches do, the good suggestions parents give to their children, the way we interview for jobs or set up sales so that there's a win-win creation of a bigger pie and everybody gets a little bit more. Suggestion can be used in many different aspects of living. How do you learn how to do it? You can take a weekend training program and learn how to read scripts. I have scripts in this manual, and they're available for free for download for you from the hypnoalliance.com website. I want everybody who wants to know about hypnosis to have free access to this so you can look at it. You can learn how to use hypnosis within a couple hours. The ethical applications and the different subtleties of it take longer. I've been taking classes since 1985, professional classes. Prior to that, I read books and practiced for myself because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. My first training was 100 hours. It was spread out over 4 weekends. My full training for certification is, in this situation, between 4 and 5 classes. That would total 220 hours worth of education. That's for the certification track. We will be putting together videos for the licensure track so that people who already have a license and want to integrate hypnosis into their practices will be able to pick up this information through the hypnosisalliance.com website and virtual store. Now, there are some spiritual gifts that clients and clinicians may encounter during the use of hypnosis, and some might say that they're looked at as a pathology in the more traditional medical or psychological models. For example, there are human growth and development models that indicate a person having a spiritual emergence as opposed to a psychotic break. Sometimes we do have memories of those who have died that come to us very clearly, whether we want to try and verify that those spirit visits are real, and I don't need to do that, or whether they're personally meaningful, and that is important to me. It's important to listen to what the client has to say and what your own self has to say about your own emergent sensory awareness. Humans have capacities that extend beyond the domain of the medical and scientific models as they presently exist. Spirit guides, guardian angels, visits from the dead, visits from children who have not yet been conceived, expanded nonverbal communication awareness, dissociative experiences, past life, future life phenomena, precognitive dreaming, angels and demons, all may be articulated by clients encountered in the practice of hypnosis. Gil Boyne assured me that in his entire career, he never saw a past life regression unfold. All of his clients experienced and expressed their regression to cause in this current life experience within a Gestalt frame of reference that forms so much of Gil Boyne's therapeutic applications of hypnosis. I encountered 2 years of past life phenomena when I first opened my practice in 1985, and I didn't believe in it. I had 2 years where everybody walking in the door, I would say, go to the cause of your problem, and they would talk to me what are known as past life phenomena. And when I stopped resisting that it was possible for a person to heal through telling me stories they seemed to be of other existences, the phenomena stopped. Interesting. I got clusters of clients who taught me different things about my own self and about them. After 2 years of the past life phenomena, I was on my knees at the shrine of St. Mary's praying, "Dear God, I don't understand it. It doesn't meet the heaven, hell, purgatory paradigm." That was my early childhood, but it worked. So I used it, and that was the end of my past life phenomena. It doesn't happen often for me now. It just still amazes me. I look back on my first 2 years and had everybody walk in the door and do it. So, what is hypnosis? Every hypnosis organization has their own pattern for teaching. Some have a hidden architecture in which their members are experts, and others assume an open architecture in which members are helper facilitators, and that's the one we're learning, the helper facilitator model. Some organizations view hypnosis as a small part of a larger bundle of therapeutic interventions. Others view hypnosis as the natural process underlying all humans' learning, growth, and developmental healing processes. It's the latter process we're doing here. Open architecture, assumption of indwelling divine spark of healing that I'm seeking to elicit from you. And so there's still debate over what hypnosis is and is not, and what would be the most effective learning model. There's no scientific debate available about the value of spirit guides and spirit helpers. And we do live in a Judeo-Christian culture that places humans at the pinnacle of domination of the natural world. It is my assumption that non-individualized spiritual aspects of humanity may be encountered in the practice of exercises in these series of training manuals. Thus, I suggest you keep a journal and perhaps also record, as I'm recording this class, all of your sessions. You will then have something other than an anecdotal database. You'll have archival records. So when it comes time for you to write your manuals, present your case studies, it won't just be we had a bunch of stories to tell around the campfire after we had fun teaching each other, but we can actually say, hey, look at this, and what themes and patterns are occurring here. And then we can even learn more scientifically about this amazing emergent spiritual phenomena. In 1987, at the American Society of Hypnosis Examiners Conference, Gil Boyne stated his position that hypnosis is a therapy of the people, by the people, for the people. There are other hypnosis organizations, and there have been turf wars during the time I have been involved with hypnosis. In 1995 and again in 2011, there were politically motivated proposals to limit the free and open practice of hypnosis in the state of Florida, and they were both soundly defeated. The regulation of hypnosis differs geographically. By adding the simple mind power tools of hypnosis into the process of change, growth, and development in your life, you can expect to learn a lot about yourself. What you like, what you dislike, what you want or need that you haven't gotten yet. Expect to learn to discern and move toward those things that you like, move away from those things you dislike, and move towards those things that you want but haven't gotten or done yet. As you learn to harness the powers of your subconscious mind by aligning your conscious and your unconscious minds, your conscious and your unconscious thoughts and beliefs transform your life for the better. You may find yourself entering a greater awareness of the spiritual essence of life's interconnectedness and your very special purpose. There's no other like you anywhere. You are here to do very special things, and only you know what they are. Trust yourself completely. You may find yourself becoming more spontaneous about your life and ability to interact with yourself, others, and in your environment. So hypnosis can be learned through a variety of mediums, several years of training, short weekend seminars, with a mix of demonstration and experiential learning, and the didactic portion that I'm doing with you right now. We'll break into groups. We'll have practice with each other to hone these skills and make them more fully our own. Some programs are available through mail order, through home study programs, reading and practice. I took a home study program when I finished my degree. It was very well done. There's only one in the United States that I was able to find that met my specific approach, a humanistic approach. I'm sure there are others, and there are multiple hypnosis organizations that provide educational experiences. You may be limited if you are a licensed person seeking continuing education units, and I found a really nifty guy who's still functioning with on the road tours for people seeking whatever their licensure requirements are for their state in using hypnosis under their license. Oh, and in Florida, a medical doctor requires to have this much, 0, training to use hypnosis. I still like teaching doctors. They're really fun. I don't believe it's possible to gain a proficiency in this field in a weekend training program. That's a foundation. A weekend training program like we're doing with 3 days is an opening door to get started on a practice that I assume will be a lifelong learning experience. And that is the end of chapter 2. We have looked at defining hypnosis. Yes, I'm looking at the open book exam. Listing common myths and refuting of myths. We've looked at what a hypnosis is. We've looked at who coined the term hypnosis. I've spoken of Elman's Science of Trance. And with the next chapter, we may be looking at signs of hypnosis, and that would be chapter 3, or in the book, chapter 103, Signs of Hypnosis. I'm going to take a small break now, and I'll be back with chapter 3.